Capital Hoops here with Lamar Butler, episode 3 of Capital Corner. Lamar, we're at Team Takeover practice. First of all, thanks for jumping in here and joining me.
Thanks for having me.
This time of year, I'm sure always kind of brings you back. Probably brings back memories of a lot of people around here. I wanted to dive into kind of your upbringing. You're a DMV guy. I know we talked about it a few minutes ago, but if you could just recap. The first thing we said was you don't like the term Cinderella. You were, for people that don't know, you were on the Mason team that went to the Final Four in 06, and you don't like that because it makes it sound like a fluke.
Yeah, at all. Like I said before, the hard work that we put in that summer, that was probably one of the most brutal summers, or the most brutal summers I've had as far as a player. Between the pool workouts, the boxing workouts, the strength and conditioning workouts, all of us stayed on campus. Because of the year we had our junior year, we stayed on campus and it was like, this is not going to happen next year.
What kind of, you referenced your junior year, what happened your junior year?
We were young. We didn't have any seniors on our junior stream team. Following Campbell, John Vaughn, Will Thomas, they were all freshmen.
Okay.
Jod, myself, and Tony Skin, we were all juniors. So we were young and it was just an up and down season. We played like a young team.
Yeah.
And we just knew we had to grow up quick. And that summer, like I said, we just pushed ourselves, and just, like I said, the Final Four was the culmination of the hard work we put in.
Was the decision to stay and work that hard, was that an upperclassman decision, kind of saying, we know we have this talent, or was Coach Larinaga part of that, or?
He was. I remember he sat myself, Tony, and John down. He said, this will be my first class that didn't make the NCAA tournament. We made the NIT twice, but we never made the NCAA tournament.
Okay.
And I remember us going back, the walk back to the dorms from his office, and we were just like, man, this summer has to be big. But we had a mature team. Even though we weren't as good on the court, the team was mature. Like Fowler and JV and Will, they weren't the typical underclassmen. So we made the decision we were going to stay. Those guys were on board. It wasn't, any pulling and horse to water.
You're a PG guy, Oxon Hill. We talked about, a lot of those guys on that Final Four team were not PG kind of guys, but Maryland guys. You talked a little earlier about growing up the landscape in the DMV and those players that you kind of looked up to. A lot of those ended up going to Maryland. Can you talk about those guys? And you said you had grown up wanting to go there?
Yeah, I wanted to go to Maryland. That was always my dream school. Dwayne Simkins, that was the first class I really started paying attention to Maryland. I tell him that to this day, so he knows. I wanted to go there.
You still see him?
I still see him. I'm around basically a lot, so I still see him and talk to him. That team was, a team I followed a lot. And then when I got to high school, I started playing against guys like Chris Monroe, Roger Mason, Keebo Gaines, Joe Forte. They were older, but those are guys I played against that summer. Kind of baptized me to high school scene of DMV basketball and showed me what it takes, how hard you had to work to be successful at that level. You
said your dad was the biggest impact on you, molding you as a player.
Yeah, he was my coach from the time I picked up a basketball. My first love was football, but my body wasn't built for it. So I had to make a decision. So he put a lot of work in to help me become a better basketball.
Did he have a history in basketball?
Yes, he played at Bowie State. He had a workout with the Wizards, but he played at Bowie State, played professional here and there. He still plays now.
Really?
Yeah, my dad still plays now.
Men's leagues?
Yeah, men's league, local gym. That's him.
Is he your biggest supporter now?
Oh yeah, he comes to all the games. You'll see him. He'll have a PVI or Takeover shirt, his chair, and he's sitting at the top of the gym watching the games.
Yeah. Walk me through getting into kind of the college side of things. What did your recruitment look like?
So my final three was Xavier, George Mason, and GW.
Okay.
It kind of, so what happened was GW, TJ Thompson committed, and I know TJ, he went to New York. I didn't want to compete with TJ. And then and Xavier, Skip Prosser, ended up leaving and going to
Wake Forest.
Yeah. So it was like, okay, I prayed about it. Let's go to Mason. My dad actually didn't want me to go to Mason. He still wanted me to commit to Xavier.
Yeah. Was there any hesitation? Because I feel like being around this area, you hear of guys sometimes who, there's the whole, staying in the area, staying close to home, putting on for where you came from. And then you hear about a lot of guys around here too, like they need to get out of here. They need to get in a new environment. Two of your three final schools were DMV schools, so obviously you were okay with staying around the area, right?
Yeah, the bigger schools, they were recruiting me. The biggest thing is they wanted me to go to prep school and get stronger. And it's not something I wanted to do back then. That wasn't the big thing to do. Mm-hmm. But as far as staying here, it really wasn't a key decision in me making my choice. Honestly, like I said, I prayed for it, but at that time, GW was really good, and so was Xavier. They just went to the Elite Eight with David West.
Was that when GW had Pop Spencer Bonsu?
No, we're the same year.
Okay. So he came in when you came.
They had Val Brown, Chris Monroe.
Yeah.
Who else was on that team from here? Val, Chris. I think that's all I can remember.
So there's some good local guys going to those
Chris
schools.
is the all-time leading scorer at GW.
Yeah.
So I'm watching this guy, and I'm like, man, he can go there and kill. I want to go there.
Yeah.
But like I said, once TJ committed, I was just like, nah, that's my guy. I'll go somewhere else.
Jim Larinaga. He seems to be one of those guys in college basketball that's like he's the anomaly in basketball, like a guy that's been coaching this long and is still getting, the players that he does and molding them into what he does. What was it about him when he recruited you that kind of swayed you towards Mason? He seems like a really interesting guy.
Yeah, he is. He's Coach L's a straight shooter. Well, as far as the recruiting with George Mason, I can honestly say, other than Xavier, it was no other school that made me feel like they wanted me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's funny. I tell people, Coach Courtney pressed me for a commitment before my visit to Xavier. Because he was like, if you had gone, you would have committed. So
to Xavier.
Yeah, he was like, you committed on the spot. So at that time, like I said, they just at every event I had a game. It was either Coach Courtney, Coach Cherry, or Coach L standing under the basket.
So they were pushing you pretty hard.
Yeah, they kept telling me, I never want to recruit. Come to Mason, we need you. So,
Were they using the star rankings when you were being recruited? Were there services like that?
No, their whole thing was don't go to a Big East school.
Why? Because you wanted to play right away?
Yeah, I wanted to play right away. They didn't want me to red shirt, and their whole thing was come here, you have a great career instead of going somewhere and being, just a piece of a team.
What's that? I've always wondered. I didn't play at that level at all. What's that like for a kid? And you were in that situation where you're getting recruited by those higher mid majors, right? And you're getting some interest from some of those bigger schools, but they're like, "Are you going to sit here? Or you're going to prep you?" And a lot of times, kids' egos get in the way of that, and they think, "Oh, I can do this. I'll prove." It takes someone that's pretty mature or has a strong kind of support system around them to be able to sit down and make that decision.
Yeah, well, back then it was a little different. Guys didn't reclass like they do now.
Yeah.
So basically, it came down to your body. And I know back then we didn't have a serious weight program.
Like your physical.
Yeah, my physical, I just wasn't there. So
okay.
Everybody said, if you come here, you have a red shirt.
Yeah.
Basically, if I come in, and that was the issue. I didn't want a red shirt as a freshman.
Right. You grew up in an era in the DMV where it was but soon after post Georgetown domination within that that decade before, and then probably when you were getting into your teen years, that's when Maryland was starting to make their run.
Yep.
What did you know about George Mason before you started getting recruited there?
It's crazy. I actually knew a lot. Terrence Nixon he went to Oxon High School. He was a senior when I was in 8th grade, and because my dad was on staff, I used to go to the games and record the games.
Your dad was on staff at Oxon
Hill.
Okay.
And I would record the games. And so when I knew he was going to George Mason, we would go to the games at Mason and watch him play. So they used to always make fun of me, like, you've been here since you were 15, 14 years old.
I was watching one of your interviews. Is that why they when you met back up with the team, they were saying, yeah, I've been here since 99 or something like that, 98?
Literally, I was a freshman in 98.
Yeah.
I was at games that freshman year watching Terrence.
A lot of people obviously will talk about the 06 team, but walk me through what your first 3 years at Mason were like as an individual and as a team. You said, Coach L told you guys that you would have been the first team that he had there that didn't make a tournament. Was it a struggle?
See, we had to win our conference, and that was the toughest piece. Our freshman year, we were good. We didn't win the conference, but we were really good. We ended up going to the NIT. And we lost to St. Joe's. It should have been a tournament team. We lost them at home. Delonte West, Jameer Nelson,
that team.
Marvin. That team was good. They should have been a tournament. They just had a down year. Like I said, we just struggled down the stretch. And we didn't make the NCAA, went to NIT, lost to them. Sophomore year was a struggle for me personally. I lost my grandmother. Well, I tore my hip flexor in a crazy play. I went to step, and the guy was backdooring me, and my foot hit his leg, and my leg just went back, and I felt it pop. And I ended up tearing my hip.
Got caught on it?
Yeah, got caught on his foot, and my leg just kept going.
In a game or in practice?
In the gym.
Oh, really?
And I felt the pop, and it was just like nothing there. You tore your hip flexor. So you can either have surgery or a partial tear, where you can just sit out for 6 months, and that's the 6 months of rehab starts after that. And I was like, you know what? I just had to sit out that year.
Oh, so you took an entire year off?
Yeah. That was
so
my
did you redshirt?
I had to, yeah. I stepped on campus, I was 17, so I was already young, so that year helped. sitting out.
Okay, so you then started at Mason in 03?
01. I was a freshman.
01.
Yep, 2001 was my freshman year. 2002.
Okay, so then you redshirted the 02, 03 year?
03, yeah,
Okay. But you had mentioned something that I wanted to touch on there was, and I could be wrong on this, but the research that I did on that 06 team, you guys didn't win your conference tournament.
No.
And I'm sure a lot of people assume that you probably did, coming from a mid-major conference that usually doesn't get at-large bids. You lost to, who did you lose to? Hofstra. Was there any, and I know towards the end of the year you guys were ranked.
Right.
Was there any panic amongst you guys that, like, we may have blown this? Like, we're not gonna get in?
Coach L told us every day we're good.
Yeah.
Coach L says we're good.
Yeah.
No panic at all.
And when he was saying we're good, he was referring, we're still getting there.
Yeah. He said just win one game in the conference tournament, we'll be fine. We did that. We limped into the conference tournament.
Yeah.
At the end of the season, we limped, period. Jai and Will both hurt, broke ankles. I think following had to miss a game. His grandmother died, her grandfather died back, so he had to go home. So the end of the season was just like, you just get to the end of the season and regroup as a team.
When did you know that 06 team was special or had the capability to do what they did?
By the end of the junior year, to be honest. Like I said, the freshmen were unbelievable. John Vaughn, we called JB Shaq, Fallon Campbell, Will. Those guys played as freshmen.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't go as deep our junior either. So those guys had an entire year of experience. And then that summer, it was like, okay, this is the summer we're going to prepare for next year.
Right. Legend has it that you had this dream about going to the Final Four. Is that like vivid to you still? Do you remember what that was like?
Yeah, we had a meeting with Dr. Barbara Teller. He's the sports psychiatrist for Tiger Woods.
Okay. And, when did you have that?
It was preseason.
Going into your senior year? Okay.
And we had to do a visualization in the dark, in the locker room. And I remember I was laying down. He asked, what did you see from He told us envision making plays, making shots, and he asked, what do you see for the season? And literally, I saw myself and our team cutting down the nets, Final Four.
Yeah.
That's what I said. But that was based on the conversation we had with Coach L.
Right.
It's like I just came back from the Final Four. There's no reason we can't be there because of Illinois. They're the same size, 3 guards.
Right.
I think we're
Was
back.
you talking about that Illinois team was the D. Brown, Luther Head, Darren Williams?
Yeah.
Coach Larranaga joked with you then that after the Florida game that you should have envisioned winning the national championship.
I should have, because you get that close. Until this day, it still haunts me that we lost to Florida. That was the national championship game, if you ask me.
Yes.
Just watching LSU and UCLA, I think that's what hurts the most. Is we win that game, we win the championship.
Going to that tournament, you guys get then rewarded, ultimately get in, and you're thrown into Dayton, which in the grand scheme of things isn't that far to travel. But you have, off the bat, 2 of the biggest blue blood programs and legendary coaches in the history of college basketball. You get, Michigan State in the first round and then UNC in the second round.
And Michigan State, we played them the year before. Like I said, that was our down year. We were tied 60-60 at the Verizon Center. Chris Hill hit 2 threes, come off a pin down.
At the Verizon Center?
Yeah, so less than a minute, like a minute and a half left, he hit 2 threes. Those were daggers.
Yeah.
And then my sophomore year, I actually broke my foot that game. We were up 2 at the half.
Okay.
And that was the year before they won the championship. They had all those guys, Raymond Felton, Rashad McCain. So those guys weren't there. We were up 2 at the half.
Right.
So those guys are gone now. So now it's our seniors, and same players, but they were on the bench, younger guys. We can beat them.
Yeah. So you knew you had some experience with those teams going in.
We played, like I said, we played Michigan State tough, and then we had Carolina up 2 at the half at their place.
Yeah. Our
sophomore year. So you had been around that team who was a very confident bunch.
Your team.
Oh, super confident.
Yeah. I piggybacking off that with the confidence part. I went, transparently, I went to Maryland. I'm a Maryland basketball fan. There's chatter that with this year's team, I don't know if you followed, but the potential of going to the Verizon Center for what's going to be played this weekend may have gotten to them a little bit, the nerves of doing that. Now, probably they were more expected by the general public to do that than you guys were, but you beat Michigan State and UNC, and then you talked about all the DMV guys on that team. You guys got to come home for the regional semis and the finals. Well, that must have been like a storybook.
It was actually on the board after the game. I think it was Gabe. We're heading home. I can't remember who it was. Somebody wrote it on the board. We took a picture of it. That was the theme actually against Carolina. It's Just get this win and go back home and play home.
Do you think that helped you guys, like being in the position that you guys were in, getting that notoriety through the first weekend of these 2 huge upsets, and then being able to go home and sleep in your beds, you know, for that entire week, and being, what, 20 miles, 30 miles from campus?
I definitely think it helps because that week is hectic. Between the media, practice, shoot-arounds.
Yeah.
It's super hectic, so to be able to go home and just rest in your own bed. Fast forward to the Final Four, it was so hectic. I think that's what disrupted our rhythm. Because we go to the Final Four and you're just, like I said, the camera in your face, doing interviews, media day, and you're, like I said, you're not home, and then you're playing in a dome. I actually watched the game the other day. It just didn't look like we had a rhythm, and I think that was part of it.
You watched the Florida game?
Yeah, that's the second time I watched it since we played.
Really?
It took me maybe 6 years, 7 years. I called Coach Hill the moment I watched it.
What made you want to watch it recently?
Just to see what we could have done.
Yeah.
The last time I watched it, I think it was 2012, 2013.
Oh, so it took you like 6 or 7 years to watch it?
When I say it still haunts me, man, it still haunts me.
Yeah.
Just, like I said, just to get that close. It's not like we played George Mason basketball, we lost. Mm-hmm. It's not like you get that game back. We just know we had that shot.
You averaged 12 points your senior year, or 12 points and change. And then against Michigan State, UNC, Wichita State, UConn, you outmatched that average every one of those games. Did you thrive in that pressure or that big stage, or what kind of, did you just need to step up knowing it was your last few games? That's
part of it. It was like it's your last goal.
Yeah.
And so you definitely raise your game. But the way we played was so balanced. One game it might be Jai, one game it might be Tony, one game it might be Fall, one game it might be Will, one game it's me. We just took advantage of what the holes were. So teams were doubling down and helping down on our bigs. We just played simple basketball. I don't know if you watched the tournament. We ran the same play.
Yeah.
You double it down, play one-on-one, you score, you help, kick it out to one of the shooters. Then we played the closeout game.
I mean, I remember watching that when I was growing up, watching your team in that tournament, and the thing that struck me, and I was a teenager at the time, but the thing that struck me about it was like it wasn't one of those mid-majors, or people will call them Cinderellas, I know you don't like that term, that gets really hot or rides like one guy or needs like a spurt of just like 3 or 4 minutes. It was like a constant balance throughout the entire game where you were playing. If you had taken the jerseys off each team, you wouldn't have known who was the high major and what.
That's how it was. In contrast to our junior year, like I said, I remember Coach Hill saying between Tony, Lamar, and Jai, you guys got to go for 60 points a game for us to win. But this year, we got 5, 6 guys that can score the ball. We don't need you to score all the points. Just get double figures. Everybody get double figures, and that's what happened. So we had to balance the attack. Just pick your poison. If you're going to leave one-on-one, Jai will, and help off the shooters, or double them and then, help in the post, or play one-on-one. You just got to pick your poison.
Some people in these surreal moments like this that you guys experience, they like talk about how they just kind of black out in the moment and then they don't remember everything.
That's true.
Has that happened to you, or do you have like pretty vivid recollection of that whole run?
I remember everything. Seriously, I remember everything up to the Florida game, which is why I watched it, because I couldn't remember. I blacked it out. It was like it never happened. That's what I had to deal with. But
really? So it was the loss that you kind of...
It was the loss, man. Yeah. But I blacked it out. Like I said, I've only watched it twice. And I know myself, I didn't play my best.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't look at the same team. We didn't look the same team at all.
Right. Anything, obviously, question is anything you would have done differently. Obviously, I'm sure you have regrets about that game specifically, but just altogether, that from going to Mason, playing with those guys, making that run that you did, is there anything that you really have regrets about?
It's crazy. Somebody asked me that question recently. I was already known as a hard worker, but I wish I worked harder.
Yeah.
That's probably my biggest regret, is working harder than I did. Just as a game of basketball. Because that's what it comes down to.
Just the next gear?
Just put in more work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And pushed our team. Because seeing how we worked our senior year, we should have been putting that work in from our freshman year.
You think things may have been different if you guys did that?
Totally different. I don't think we would have gone to just one tournament. Because honestly, that wasn't our best team at Mason. It was our sophomore year. We had legit 2 starting fives.
Yeah.
We went to the NIT and lost to Oregon. That was probably the best team that I played on. You could just take guys.
So that team was better than the team that went to Final Four?
Hands down.
Yeah.
Yes, hands down. If you ask anybody in the team, that sophomore year team, No league.
Coach Larnag would say the same thing?
Deep. That was so we started a veteran team by the end of the year because of the dysfunction.
Yeah.
Coach said, you know, I'm starting Lamar, Tony, and Jai as sophomores.
Yeah.
But we had a deep team, a talented team.
Yeah. Switching gears to your coaching career now. Kind of a threefold question. Best player you ever played against in your career?
High school, pro or college?
At any level.
Best player I've ever played against, man. It's a tough one. Between Jameer Nelson and Jose Juan, I would say those two
were
really good at college. The pro level, I probably have to go with, some tough guys overseas. I have to think about that one. Probably when I was in the D League, I played against the kid from New York, played for the Lakers, Smush Parker.
Okay.
Oh, man, he's impossible to stay in front of.
Quick guy?
Oh, he's strong and quick. He's like Gilbert Arenas, big shoulders. He gets you leaning, he's gone.
Yeah. Lanky?
It's a slow shot, but he gets you moving, and once you back up, he gets it all. But I would say probably, take that back, Gilbert Arenas. I played against Gilbert.
You did?
Yeah, some leagues. He's by far the toughest pro.
Yeah.
I was just thinking real games, but summer league, Gilbert Arenas.
Who, aside from attending NBA games, who's the best player you've ever seen in your years of basketball playing, coaching? Oh, you've seen, where'd you see
Wizards.
Oh, okay.
And then on TV, I would say Michael Jordan.
Yeah? So you're a Jordan guy?
I actually like LeBron. I think he's a better overall basketball player, but as far as getting a bucket, Jordan.
Yeah. Best player you ever coached against? I know you're just kind of kicking off your coaching career, but best player you ever coached against?
That's tough. Because I was at St. John's, I would say between Casey Moselle and Justin Moore, the two guys.
So two recent guys.
Yeah, Justin Moore and Casey Moselle. I'm going to give you a bunch of guys. It's in the gym. The WCAC is tough, man. So I give you a lot of players that have come through these doors.
Did you, I didn't have this written down, but I was wondering this. Did you have any aspirations to play in the WCAC when you were growing up?
No, because back then, we wanted to beat them.
Yeah.
My sophomore years, I only even lost to them. When they had Joe Forte, Keith Bogans.
I guess when you were growing up, it was probably more of like neighborhood kids all going to their public school wanting to beat the private schools.
Yeah, my entire team, we grew up together. So we know each other since we were 9, 10 years old. So we got to high school, it was like, let's beat them athlete. Like I said, we only lost them one time, sophomore year, junior, senior, we beat them.
Right. Where and when did your coaching career start?
Oh, it was crazy. I was 2000, so I stopped playing in 2011, 2012. I was at a Georgetown game, and I saw Coach Zach.
Okay.
Known him since I was a little boy. He's like, what are you doing out there? I just stopped playing. I'm home. I'm just enjoying basketball. So I'm like, come coach. So that's the year I coached at Cowan, at DC Thunder. Okay. That's how I got to St. John's.
Okay. Through your position there?
Yeah.
So you started there. When did you go to St. John's?
And senior year. So that was since 2019, so 2016.
The year that they won the title with Doughton.
Yeah, my first year.
Okay. And then you were at St. John's until when?
Last year. This is my first year at Paul VI.
Okay. Switching to Paul VI, how did, with all the expectations that Paul VI had this year, and I still think, I covered a number of their games, I still think you guys had a really good year, and a bunch of surprises that kind of came to the surface because of the injuries you guys suffered.
Yeah.
How do you keep such a positive outlook, or how do you kind of change your perspective or adjust things when, one of the best point guards in the country and a guy who's, 4 or 5 star prospect going to Virginia Tech go down like that?
I think it's a credit to the players.
Yeah.
They've got to want to step up.
Yeah.
If they don't give you anything to work with, you can't work with it.
Right.
Like Trevor, Doug, who else on there? Xavier, Josh, JoJo.
Yeah.
Those guys wanted to step up. That wasn't us. They made a decision, okay, those guys are down, let's rally around them and make up for what they would have brought to the table. Try our best every single day.
When you go from coaching in high school, PVI, St. John's, and then you come somewhere like here, Takeover, what's that? Do you have to adjust anything? Do you coach any differently?
Basketball is basketball. The ball is still around, 94 feet, 10 foot.
Right, but I think probably the question most people would have is, you know, when you're coaching at high school, obviously there's that kind of chemistry of the team is formulated throughout the year. Is that tougher? These guys all seem to know each other pretty much anyways. Is that a hurdle you have to overcome?
No, the culture here is buy-in or leave.
Yeah, for Takeover?
Yeah, it's preached from the time you join Takeover to the time you get to Coach Keith. So, you know, those guys know we're here to win. The egos leave them outside the door. Our common goal here is to win the Peach Jam Championship.
Is that what this, you know, Keith has built probably one of the best, if not the best, grassroots program in the country with Takeover. How's he done that? Like, from a guy who's in the program, but obviously is not Keith, you know, coming in, what took you aback, or what surprised you about this team?
I will say, honestly, and I tell people this when they're talking about Takeover, you know, because before I got with Takeover, I was in Europe, so I had no idea Keith was, you know, this big AE program here. When I got into coaching, I was in DC Thunder, and it was like my teammate Tony Skin was here. He was like, man, you need to come over here with Takeover. So
your Mason teammate?
Yeah, Tony Skin is coaching at Seton Hall now.
Okay.
So I sat down with Keith, and Keith interviewed me like I was trying to get a college job. And I've known Keith since high school, so it wasn't like, you know, oh yeah, I know who you are, come on. No, it was this is business. Let's talk basketball. Let's talk your future. Let's talk our future. How can we come together and make this work? And it was a legit interview. So I tell people, like, there's no free passes over there. As a coach, you got to be on your PVI. You got to know what you're doing. You got to come here willing to work and learn. Right. Because like I said, our common goals are going to be there.
It seems, you know, we were joking about the number of coaches that are out there and the number of players, but every one of them probably went through that interview. It's not like we're pulling people off the streets here.
I don't know. You got to come here, and if you want to BS around, there's no place for you.
Yeah. Just a last thing here to go through. I have about 6 or 7, you know, different persons, places, things. Just tell me what you think of when I tell you these. First one, March 27th, 2006, Sports Illustrated issue. You have that? You have that in the house?
Plenty of them. That was actually my mom's birthday, which was yesterday, so she enjoyed it. But I remember I was in practice and I was working out with one of the assistant coaches after practice when I found out the cover was my cell phone.
Yeah. What's that like? That, I mean, like, you're not being like you know, a superstar, like professional athlete or anything like that. I mean, obviously you guys were talking tournament, but like finding out you're on the cover of Sports Illustrated.
Honestly, it didn't hit me until after practice, maybe later. Because at that point, I was so focused on, you know, we had Wichita State coming up, and I was working out with one of my coaches. So I was the one, and Coach L was like, "Oh my God, it just came through the facts." He said, "Come down here, Lamar, look at this," and I was like, "Nah, whatever, I'll look at it later." He was like, "Lamar, come down, you got to see it." So I go down and look, and I see it. It's black and white, so you can barely see it as a grainy picture. I was like, "Oh wow." I sat it down back on the seat and went back down and shot.
Did that come out while you guys were still making your run?
Yeah.
I guess so, because the Final Four.
It was after the North Carolina game.
Okay. I just actually found out today when I was looking back through the stuff, the Wichita State team that you guys beat was Turgeon was there.
Yep.
I didn't know that until today. That's pretty cool.
Yep.
Glenn Farello. What comes to mind when you think of Glenn?
My AAU coach.
Really?
Yes. Coaching at AAU.
What AAU program were you in?
We were PG Select.
Okay.
Group of guys from PG County that played together. We didn't play the big major AAU program like Takeover. Back then, same still fiery guy he is now.
Yeah. John Lewis.
Man, low, but surprisingly quick.
Yeah.
Yes. Don't let the body fool you, man. If suicides would be Tony, me, George, JB, all in the front, and then you look and it jives a step behind you.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So he was keeping up?
Yes. So he would pick pockets of guards. I'm like, hey, I feel your pain because he give me a practice too. So quick.
The 05 to 07 dynasty, as people will call it, of the University of Florida. Were they as good as people make them out to be in terms of, you know, being, because they were really the last group where kids stayed. And I know you guys said you could have beaten them, that you didn't have your best game, but no?
We did. I watched that game twice. We didn't play our game at all. They were good, but they weren't that much better than us.
Were they the best team you played in that tournament run? UConn? Who was on that UConn team?
Marcus. Was at the point guard. Marcus, what's his last name? I forget his last name.
Oh, I know who you're talking. He used to wear the shirts under his jersey.
Yeah, he's the point guard.
Marcus Williams?
Yeah, Marcus Williams.
Yes.
Rashad Anderson, Denham Brown, Josh Boone.
Was Villanueva on that team?
No. Rudy Gay.
Oh, okay.
Hilton Armstrong.
Did you know Rudy?
No, I didn't know Rudy. He was younger than me.
Okay.
I didn't know anybody on that team. I knew players on the Carolina team. Michigan State played with me before.
Who'd you know on the Carolina team?
Dino. I call him Dino. David Noel.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
He's come to Mason a couple of times, so we would, whenever we came, we would see each other.
Switching gears to PVI, Doug McDaniel, kid everybody's talking about after this year. Yep. Thoughts on him?
Smart.
Yeah?
Yes, extremely smart. Quarterback. That's probably the most. That's probably the best attribute to have as a guard. Is high IQ.
And he has it at such a young age too.
You can't teach that.
Right.
And you that type of kid, you can throw a lot at him. You know what I mean? So you have to simplify things because he's smart. He can grab it and process it.
Istanbul. What was that like?
It's like New York City.
Really?
Yes. As a player, you say you play somewhere you like, I live here. Istanbul is a place I can live.
Really?
Yes.
So you enjoyed it there?
Oh, I loved it there.
A guy that we didn't get to see this year, Jeremy Roach.
Pro.
Really?
I think he's a pro.
Yeah. What about him makes him pro?
His work ethic, his approach to the game every day is a workman-like approach.
Yeah.
And those are the guys that make it. Because what happens is wherever he goes, he's going to be the guy that sets the tone.
Yeah. He's the quarterback.
He's the quarterback. He's going to set the tone of the team. I want to be the hardest worker. I want to be the guy to push everybody. And those guys are the guys that basically make it in basketball, whether it's here or in the league.
Lastly, I ask every guy in the conferences, is WCAC the best basketball conference in the country?
Hands down.
What makes it that way?
This hotbed, you grew up from the time you're 8, 7, the time you pick up a basketball till your high school. You're playing against the same guys. And all these guys have the same goal. Then you have a vision. You have guys that you can actually go out and touch and see what they're doing.
And stay around the area.
But you're 8, 7 years old getting to see a guy like Terrence Williams, Hunter Dickinson, Earl, Justin Moore, Casey. So you see those guys every weekend, every week, and they show you what it takes to become those guys.
Because it's not like, it's interesting that you point that out, because it's not like it's one of those conferences where they have schools where kids are coming in from all over the country. Right. These are all like, for the 95, 96% of it, it's locally grown guys.
And like I said, you watch them from the time they went to middle school. So it's just a constant, it's like a pot being stirred. Like you just throwing new guys into it. And then you take the guys that are older, but you're embedded in that pot from the time you're 7 to 8. So they're showing you what it takes, whether it's summer grassroots, WCAC, and you're just watching it. And you see what they've done, so you apply it to yourself. If they want to work down hard, I got to work down hard.
Well, so then to piggyback off that, to end it, does that mean then by, kind of transit property, DMV's the hotbed for basketball in the U.S.?
And no, look at the tournament. Every team has somebody from this area.
Yeah.
I'd say every team, pretty much.
I saw someone tweet, there's a kid from Maryland on every team.
Every team is crazy. Like I said, the competition here it was the same when I was coming up. It's the pressure to win and to stand out and be the cream of the crop here is nothing like I've seen outside of this area.
All right, well, Lamar, I appreciate the time, man. Thanks for sitting down with me. Best of luck with Takeover. Best of luck moving forward. We'll be looking forward to catching up with you. All right, appreciate it, man.